strong, independent woman. Black cat type of a persona, sarcastic, boss lady figures. Personality number 1 and personality number 2. Hi guys, and welcome to a new video here on my channel. My name is Andy. Thank you for joining me here today in our chaotic corner of the internet if you want. Now, if you're new here, we do a lot of bookish media fun videos out here, and if this sounds like something you'd enjoy, make sure you hit the subscribe button. It really helps. Now, if you're returning, kisses, thank you for coming back. I love you the most. Now, for today's video, I was actually thinking we can complete this beautiful duology that we started a few days ago, a few videos ago, and I'm gonna link you here the video in question, which is my top 10 MMCs. And that was a very nice video to make. So I was thinking we can do the counterpart with my top 10 FMCs across all the reads I've done up to this point. Now, of course, this top may change just as with the one with MMCs. So if that will be the case, we will be updating this along the way. But for now, those are my ultimate top 10 FMCs. Before we start into today's video though, I do want to mention that we might spoil a couple of things here and there, simply because I'm not gonna spoil the big plot lines of the stories, but we're gonna speak about the arcs, and that may still contain a couple of spoilers. So proceed with caution, that's all I'm gonna say. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, and we're gonna start with our number 10 here, which is Miss Evie Hanmon, and that would be from V for Vendetta. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the story, this is a very dystopian fantasy built in an old fascist England, and our main character here, Evie, is portrayed initially as this fragile, naive type of a persona that is basically forced to resort to things like prostitution to just get by. Now, after a bunch of things happen, she gets to be imprisoned. Moment in which V actually decides to save her from that said prison. And take her upon his wing to a certain level. And from that point, she will become his protege, his apprentice, if you want, and later on his successor. Now, her whole arc, as I mentioned, starts from this very frail persona to this strong, independent woman, up to the point of the finale in which she takes over the role of V from him, basically. Now, I really love the way this character is built and the whole portrayal, I will say, because you get to see how she becomes this bold, fierce persona while still having some real struggles. I think that's what actually builds a strong female character, not just the fact that she's powerful and amazing and smart and everything you want, but she actually has to cross certain fears, to pass certain difficulties in life, if you want, to get to the point where she is this strong, almighty, empowering person. So yeah, I absolutely love the whole arc. I think it's very well built. It's very beautifully constructed. It's very complex. She has so many layers that you just have to read multiple times just to stay afloat, if you ask me. And just the more you read, the more you discover a new layer, and everything is just absolutely beautifully built. So I would recommend this book to anyone, regardless of our female character here. But she is absolutely phenomenal. Case in point, she will be my number 10 for today's video. Moving on with number 9, and that will be Miss Roxanne here from Shadows of Fury. Now, she's very much that black cat type of a persona. She's very sharp tongued, bold, fierce type of a character. And the best part about it is that she was not always like that. The whole story begins about 20 years prior to the event of the book, when she's being tailed by this serial killer. Now, of course, she does has to keep this elegant, perfect type of a lifestyle. She's also an event planner, while she has this huge emotional baggage, but she always feels like she has that chip on her shoulder, and she always has to look across it just to make sure there's no one there. So that level of paranoia is built up for a very well reason, but it's very much there, and makes her build this deep internal emotional void, if you want. Now, when this serial killer resurfaces, she does agree with this marriage of convenience once she catches the eye of the Polish mafia leader. And from that point on, the whole story takes on. Now, from this frail, or internally fragile type of a persona, she does end up being this strong female character inside and out. And there's especially one scene that's all people's favorite, and it's been talked about everywhere, when she becomes a bit unhinged when her husband is actually the one that's being injured. And that's when her little blackest beast, if you want, takes out her claws, and it's absolutely juicy, phenomenal. I love to see her being absolutely unapologetically there and ready to protect her man. It's just phenomenal. It's absolutely amazing. I love her. 10 out of 10. I recommend anyone reading this series. Is just phenomenal. So yeah, that will be our number 9 for our today's stop. Moving on with number 8, and this is Miss Kennedy K from the Windy City series, actually volume 4, Play Along. Now, this is another black cat type of a persona. She's a very catty, very fierce, very emotionally guarded type of a character, but because karma never sleeps, she meets this amazingly golden retrieval type of love interest. Aside from being fierce, as I was mentioning, she's also very loyal, she's very devoted once the walls come down. And we will get to see more and more of her as the story progresses. Now, of course, the domain she's working in, it's quite a demanding one. She works as a sports doctor in a very male-dominated field, in which in this case is a baseball team. And of course, she has to work twice as hard because she's not seen with the same eyes as her colleagues, maybe. Now, we get to see her whole journey from being this very emotionally guarded, as I was mentioning, character due to her whole family trauma, becoming this nice open persona. Now I don't believe she will ever be fully open like other characters in the Windy City series, but she has this amazing journey and she is this type of character that she respects herself and she wants to build something based on her capabilities, not the family name. Because she does come from a very strong, very powerful family, but she does want to separate herself and everything that she represents from them because she wants to build something that's her own. And she doesn't want to have to basically rely on that family legacy, if you want it all the time. It's a beautiful story, it's an amazing written character, and that's why she will remain our number 8. Moving on with number 7, and that would be Aphrodite from House of Night. Now, House of Night is one of those YA series that you either absolutely love or you hate. There is no middle ground, basically. I do remember getting completely obsessed over it in high school, and I actually started the reread last year that I'm planning on continue pretty soon. But that aside, our character here reported as this very powerful, extremely beautiful prophet with the ability to have visions of some very random, very fucked up events that are about to come. Now, her whole journey is very classical bad guy to good guy type of a situation with a huge turning point when she decides to sacrifice her powers and immortality to save someone else. Now, she does grow a lot across the books and becomes this sister figure to our main character, which I think is such an important benchmark type of a moment in the series, and I think that changes everything for everyone. I'm not gonna tell you more, not to give you any more spoilers, but if you haven't read it yet and if you are a YA fan, make sure you check it out because it's totally worth it. Moving on to number 6, and that will be Skylar Adams from Playa Grande. Now, a side note here, we do have a reading vlog on the channel reading these books, and if you're curious to see how it went, I'm gonna link it for you up here. Now let's go back a bit and talk about Skylar as a character. Now her entire arc is just so well written. It's such a complex character with so many layers that I was not even aware of when I started reading these books. I was expecting someone way more at a surface level, and we went so freaking deep that we get to the core of the whole thing and then back out. It's just phenomenal. But this is not an easy story. This is not a light-hearted type of a character. She went through a lot of trauma. Her high school years are not easy. Trust me on this one. And she's also forcefully institutionalized when she was a kid, and that's just a whole new level of fucked up that clearly does some damage to her head. Okay, now in her adult life she does manage to compose herself and to become this relatively functioning adult, but of course things go sideways when she actually discovers she's this secret heiress to um a big part of the entire city, basically. Now, I'm not gonna go too much into details because I'm gonna give you too much and I'm just gonna take away from the story, but just beware, this is so well written. Such an amazing character, but please proceed with caution because it's not for the faint of heart and it approaches some very fucked up stories. Now, at the end of the day, she does manage to work through all the trauma and she is. Being triumphant at the end of the day. I think that's the best way of saying it because some things will never be fixed, some things will never be as new, but I think she's the ultimate standard for empowering, and I think that's what makes you power through a situation, especially if you went through some very difficult situation in real life that you had to overcome. I think she's the standard of that. I think she's the perfect example of just living with trauma, because a lot of the strong female characters get to overcoming, and of course that's amazing, but there are some things that are so deeply imbued in our core that is just not something that we will ever be able to overcome. And that's exactly the best representation here in this book. All in all, it's just phenomenal. I was never expecting this level of detail when I started reading this, and it's just incredible. There is no better way to explain to you how amazing this whole thing is. So yeah, if you're curious, make sure you check it out. Moving on to number 5, and that would be Morana Vitalo, actually, from the Darkverse series. Now, Morana, if you read the book, you know she's this very brilliant, world class hacker that just chooses to use her brain just to navigate through the whole situations. Now, aside from her dad being this ruthless mobster leader, however you want to call it, she's also very sarcastic, very witty. She's unapologetic, unafraid to stand up to any man in front of her, even though she's very much used as a political leverage, and she's using a punching bag if you want, because in this mafia world having a daughter is basically having a huge advantage in your pocket and a huge trading coin if you want. But that aside, she is this fun, very strong character that's not easygoing, that will stand her grounds and will fight for what she thinks is right, which she ends up doing when she meets Tristan later on in the book. Now, I'm not gonna give it too much ahead, it's just this empowering mafia story that's complex but not too much. It's exactly the right dosage if you want. So yeah, all in all, I will totally recommend this one, and this is why she is my number 5. Moving on to number 4, and that will be our silver one here, Violet Sorrengail. Now, Violet trained her whole life to become a scribe, okay? Until about 6 months before the school starts, when her mother forces her to change things up and enrolls her in the rider quadrants. Now, this is a very deadly environment, okay? And not just that, but actually people burn dragons and fight the fucking war, which is slightly different from what she has been training all along. Regardless of that, she also has this disease that makes her bones a bit more frail, so she's not quite the classical strong person, and we are being reminded of that quite a bit, especially at the beginning of the book. But fear not, this will not last very long, because spoiler alert, you'll bond this beautiful black dragon called Tern. Things will take a huge side from that, and there are a few other surprises on the way as well. Not spoiling anything, I'm gonna leave you with that. Now, her whole character is quite interesting, because aside from being this physically frail person, she is using her intelligence and her sharpness to navigate some difficult situations, which I think is such a an admirable quality in general, and I think it's a smart way of doing things, because if she would have suddenly become extremely powerful physically, that would have been very weird. But they put a lot of emphasis on her mental powers, which she had all along, and she's using that, aside from the skills that she's learning and the signet and everything, to just come on top of things basically. And yeah, she's just a phenomenally written character. She will become, of course, later on very powerful as the story progresses, but she will never actually give up that intelligence and that wittiness that got her there basically, and that's one thing that I absolutely love about her. Now, there are so many layers to her character that are just beautifully written, and it's so nice to just discover them one by one as you progress through the story. All in all, I cannot tell you enough how much I love this. You already know that the Imperium is one of my god tier series nonetheless, and I cannot recommend it enough at the end of the day. Now I think it's time, you guys. I think we are finally at top 3. Can you imagine, when did we get here? I have no idea. I think like, huh. I was expecting this to be way harder than it was, but it was just so easy going. No problem. We just got here in like 10 minutes. Wannabe? I don't know. I have no idea. Don't mind me. I'm just rambling around. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get into our top 3, shall we? Now let's talk here about number 3, and that will be Miss Rhys Remington from In Her Own League. Now, we recently read that. I'm gonna link you the vlog that we did reading US Windy City book. and I'm just obsessed. So I've been so locked in, so completely in love with this book, with this story since it appeared. I've been talking only about that. I think I've drove everyone crazy with it. But you know what? I'm not even sorry, because Reese's character is just something else. She's this boss lady that basically spent her whole life living up to the expectations, learning, preparing to just manage this sports team that she would inherit later on in life. She never took this for granted. She just fought every single moment to just prove herself and show everyone that she's actually capable of doing that, and not just take it for granted just because it was her right or legacy or whatever you want to call it. Now she ends up being the president of this entire team, and as you can imagine, she was not received with the warmest of hugs, simply because everyone thought that she will take this completely for granted and she will have nothing to do with that. But she actually proves them all wrong, and she ends up being this fair woman and a fair boss. Of course, there are some romance there and also some spice that is very, very, very well done. I will have to say, just to mention it out there, but that's not the point of the video here. The main point here is our character Reese. That's very, very well done. And I think in general, whenever we're coming to those boss lady figures, I think it's just so empowering to see everything that they went through to get to the highest point they are. Usually, everyone is interested in the result, but not on the journey. And I think the journey is 90% of the whole thing. Now, even if this give this icy queen type of a persona, she's actually the warmest of teddy bears inside, and I just love her so much. I think she's exactly what any entrepreneur dreams of being one day. And yeah, I just love her so so much. And yeah, that will be number three. Now, before we get to the number two, I just want to say it's been quite a debate, okay? To just figure out which one should be number one, which one should be number two. It's just been a whole thing. But I'm quite happy with the result. So, without further ado, let's get into number two, which is Feyre Archeron, our main female protagonist from A Court of Thorns and Roses. Now, Feyre's story begins as a 19-year-old human that lives in extreme poverty. Her father had a major injury that prevents him from providing for his family. Now, because of that, she was kind of forced to pick up a few things, especially hunting, to otherwise feed the ungrateful family at this point. What she doesn't know yet is that her life is about to completely change when she will decide to kill this abnormally large wolf that was actually a fae in disguise. Now, of course, as you can imagine, she has to pay for it, and it's very much a life for a life situation, but not by the human laws, but by the fae ones. And this is how she ends up in the Spring Court. Now, there's where she met Stamlin, and a lot of things develop from there, and she will become this curse breaker figure. Now, what I love the most about this story is that her being separated from her family actually allows her to discover herself, and not always reporting her persona to the ones around her, but just being her independent individual self. And I hope that makes sense what I'm trying to say here, because I think that's such a powerful thing to say, and such a powerful message to send out, because I think each one of us should just report to our own individual person, stop comparing ourselves to everyone around us. And yeah, from that point on, she has a beautiful journey. I'm not gonna spoil it to you, but the whole trajectory of her character, from being this spoiled brat, if you want, to this extremely high powerful person. Sorry guys, a small battery change happening here. Okay, so as I was saying, that was it for our number two. Now, moving on to number one. Drumroll, please. Ah, we have Miss Nessa Archeron. And I think now you can easily understand why exactly I was a bit confused which one should be first. Because Feyre is an absolutely amazing written character, but then we have Nesta, and then there's personality number one and personality number two. We have challenges number one and challenges number two. Do you know what I mean? It's been a whole thing. But yeah, we have Nesta Archer on here, and she is the protagonist of our last to date ACOTAR book, and that's A Court of Silver Flames. And she begins her whole thing by being the second character. She's actually the biggest out of the three sisters, and you may be asking me, wait, if Nissa is actually the big sister, why did Feyre had to do everything and not her? You and me both. We were both wondering the same thing, okay? Now, I will have to be honest with you. She was a brat, okay? 99% of the whole thing, she was a brat. She was unsufferable. I could not stand her. She was so freaking annoying. But yeah, in the same time, she's portrayed as this very guarded, very cold type of a character that keeps everyone at arm length, simply because she's not the warmest of human beings, okay? And she has some issues of her own to deal with, to say the least. Now her whole journey takes a whole new place when they are forced into certain circumstances that makes her basically join this supernatural world without her even wanting to, and that caused some even more internal damage, if you know what I mean. Now, especially in the last book, there's a lot of focus on her trauma, on her depression, because she's dealing with some very hardcore, very serious feelings that she doesn't exactly well know how to compose herself, because basically overnight she just ends up in the position where she is able to control this silver flamey ability, if you want, that's also connected only to destruction and death and decay, and it's not all warm and fuzzy, okay? And she just has to learn how to deal with everything, and it's not the nicest, warmest of places, as I was mentioning. So yeah, she suddenly wakes up one day and she has to deal with everything, plus some events that are happening leading up to that point, and it's not the easiest journey. Now, luckily, Karma is there to help, or in this case, I'm not sure if it's Cassian or Cassian. Anyway, her love interest, which I think it's quite of a building foundation to rebuild herself. And I think she goes through a whole journey of accepting who she now is, because she's a totally different person that she used to be. And now she kind of has to rediscover herself while dealing with all those, negative emotions and all those depressing thoughts, if you want. And it's a whole lot of things. But I absolutely love her character. I think her arc is phenomenal. I think even the simple fact that we, or at least just to speak for myself, I it works such strong feelings in me, even negatives or negative or positive. It's just amazing, and whenever a character is able to wake up those deep frustrations or deep passions about something, that's when I know that it's extremely well written and it's worth passing over to you guys. So yeah, that will be it. She's my number one. I am actually very curious who's gonna dethrone. No, I do have to mention though that I haven't read Throne of Glass or Crescent City yet. I know that the female character from Throne of Glass may be a contendant from what I heard from other people, but I have no idea. So I am standing by my top as of now. We might change some things later on, but I don't know. She's a very strong one, and I absolutely love her. I adore her. After the last book, I don't care about the nasty thing that happened. I just want to hug her and keep her forever, So yeah, I'm absolutely a huge, huge fan of it. Okay, with that being said, I think we are finally done with today's video, and here is our top. Or here. Not sure which side. But here is our top, okay? And I cannot be more happy with our top that we put together here. So yeah, I hope if you're still here with me, thank you so much for choosing to spend the day with me. I hope you had a lot of fun. I clearly did here. And yeah, let me know down below, who's your top female character out of everything you've read so far. That must be fun. And until next time, stay cozy in your chaos, you guys. Bye!